They said, you need to quit calling it dirt because soil is alive, dirt is dead. Excuse me. Hey guys, welcome back to another series on homesteading for free. So this time we are going to talk about soil. Now for reference, I'm going to call it dirt because I've always grown up calling it dirt. And I had a viewer jump on me one time. They said, you need to quit calling it dirt because soil is alive, dirt is dead. And whenever you talk about dirt, that means what you're planting in is dead. It don't have any life in it. I was like, excuse me. So I'm calling it dirt. Take it as you will. But I'm going to show you how we are going to fill our garden beds. Okay, so you've seen where we got the pile of wood chips. If you haven't, go back and watch that video. You've seen where we put down a weed barrier. If you haven't seen that one, go back and look for that one. So now we're going to talk about dirt. Now, whenever we lived at our last homestead, we went and we showed you how we fill up our garden beds that way. I'm going to show you here how we did that. At one point, we went and filled our beds with cotton gin trash. Now, at our new homestead, we're still going to be doing that. We just haven't had the opportunity to go and get it yet. At our last homestead, or the last county we lived in, it was free to go and get the gin trash yourself. You could go any time of day, night, whatever, and load it up yourself, and it was free. The county we live in now, they don't want you to go and get it just any time. They actually want to load it for you. So you have to go, during work hours, and they are going to load it for you. Now, there is a little minimal charge for that. But still, we're not wasting half a day going and loading up a trailer load. It only takes just a few minutes. So we are now, since we got our bed started, we're going to show you the gin trash that we brought back with us to our new homestead because we had some left over from the last homestead and we just brought it with us because it was too good to leave. All right, so you see Emma and Steven there. They are loading up wheelbarrows and we're actually going to put it on the new bed over there. So this is the gin trash that I was telling you guys about. It is super black, super rich, totally broken down, and this is actually a year old. You don't have to let this stuff sit because what they do is they usually mill it or gin it in the fall, and so by the time you get it in the springtime, it has already decomposed down to where it's already black and you hardly see any plant material left. Now, the quality of the gin trash also depends on the gin. We have gotten some crappy gin trash and we have gotten some obviously good. So we know where the gold is and we're excited to try out the new gins here in our new county because we've never used them before. So we're excited to go and try them out. We've got tons of garden we've got to fill up. Now, this is just one way you can fill up your garden beds for free or at very minimal cost. One other way, of course, is to help a friend clean out their barn. Any kind of barn clean out will decompose. You don't want it hot if you can help it, but if you've got somebody that has 6 months to a year old barn clean out, or they need help cleaning out some that has been sitting around for a while, go ahead and get it. That stuff is free and it is gold. It is literally animals poop gold. So yeah, call up a friend, get their barn clean out. Local gin, cotton gins, local like corn gins. I don't know if there is such a thing. Local wheat factories, anything like that that's going to have that plant material is going to be where your best bet is. Before I get hounded about chemicals, because I know people are going to say, you can't use that. That's commercially, chemicalized and all that stuff. We don't have a problem with where we get our gin trash from. Yes, they do spray chemicals to keep the pests off of it. But they don't spray chemicals on it that kills the plants or, anything like that. We've never had a problem. So if you get something like that that's new to you, you might want to do a test run and plant some green beans in it, something that's a fast turnaround, to see what your plants do. You can wait a year, sacrifice a year, and plant corn or plant sunflowers. Something that you can sacrifice and see what it's going to do to your plants. But that's also going to pull those chemicals out, because sunflowers and corn and beans and such, those things pull chemicals out of the soil. So go ahead and sacrifice a year or a season, at least just one season. You can get started early spring, plant those things, and then they will pull them out, a good bit of the chemicals out for the next season, which would be like your summer planting. Hey guys, one thing I noticed as I'm sitting here editing this video you're watching is I realized I didn't completely finish the video. We got so busy and I forgot to give you some other tips and tricks. So other ways you can get free dirt or free soil, whatever you want to call it, is you can be watching for local construction. Now, local construction, you know, new houses, new buildings, anything like that, they are going to have to be moving some dirt around to be able to level and survey that land to get it flat, build all the foundations and everything. And sometimes you can go ask them if they happen to have a load of dirt, or if you can come by and let them fill up the trailer or something like that. You can actually get some of that dirt and take it home with you and use that as, you know, dirt or soil for filling your beds. Now, it's not always 100% quality, so you might want to look into adding some compost to it and the normal amendments. One other way that I recently found out about our front yard right out here, the builder of this house, when it was actually built back in the 60s, there was actually an old wagon roadbed that ran across the front of the yard. So what he did is he sourced the city and county departments, roadwork departments, and he actually got them to bring dirt in and fill up the old roadbed, making our front yard flat, because it was a huge ditch like you've seen on the side of the house. It actually continued across the front of the yard and went over to the field across the road there, because at one point this road was not here. And it was still used as the old roadbed. So what he did was he called the city and the county road worker departments and got them to bring any of the ditch clean out and fill in the old roadbed out here to make our yard now level with the road out there that's now out there. So that could be a possibility. And like I said, go ahead and grow the corn and sunflowers and stuff like that to be able to pull those chemicals out, because ditches are where everything washes off the road. That's going to be any chemicals or anything from the vehicle. So it's not ideal, but push comes to shove. Over time, you can actually change that dirt into, you know, great garden soil. It's just going to take a little more work. Another thing you can also do, and this is funny, kind of rarely not thought about, but if there's a zoo that is close to you, see if you can come and get their clean out, because they have to clean those pens out all the time, and it would be wonderful manure. It would definitely be unique because you would have all kinds of animal manure. Another thing you could do is reach out to friends, again, like I spoke about the barn clean out, and see if you can get chicken pen clean out, or rabbits. Rabbit and goat manure is actually cold, whereas cow, horse, and chicken manure is hot. You can research that. Cold manure is what you can actually use directly on your garden and your plants, whereas horse, cow, and chicken manure, they say you need to let it sit for at least 6 months to a year. Now, you're actually going to see me over this garden season actually clean out my pen and put my chicken manure straight onto my garden. And that being because if you keep the manure at least 4 to 6 inches away from your plants and don't put it directly on them, it won't burn them. And you put it on top of the soil. Don't mix it in, because then what's going to happen is when it rains, it's going to wash those nutrients, that fertilizer, down into your soil. And what you're going to be left with is kind of a thin layer of mulch. From the wood, or like the wood chips or the hay or whatever was in the pens at the time when you cleaned it out. So keep that in mind if you work with manure. You can also just get it and let it compost for next season. Just let it sit for the next 6 months to a year and just use it then. Now, another long-term soil contribution, I guess you could say, to your garden would be to pile up some limbs or trees, or anything as you are cleaning out an area. If you're having to make room like we'll be doing for animals later on, we've got to clean out trees. So what you can also do is make huge piles of the limbs and the trees, and over the next 3 to 5 years, depending on what kind of tree it is, just let it sit in a pile and decompose. And then you can start using that. If you start like a yearly rotation of, we're going to start this pile this year, and then next year we're going to start another pile. You can have a rotation of long-term compost that you can go get. And you can actually pile on any kind of non-disease, non-spray, non-chemical plants out of your garden. If you don't give it to your animals, you can actually start piling the plant material up onto those tree limbs and trees and stuff like that to help with that compost activation. So that's also something to think about in a long-term sense. Now, if you are going for direct, I want to garden right now kind of thing, you're going to have to look at something that has already been decomposing or composting over the last 6 months to a year. So something to think about, whether you're starting a garden from scratch and want it now, want a garden this year kind of thing, or if it's going to be something that you can build on and maybe not do it right now, but do it maybe in the fall. You could start it in the fall, or you can start it now and not use it until next year. So you also may want to think about the different types of gardens. Like you can do a smaller one now and then build your garden beds maybe for next year. So you have a small one for now, and then you'll have ones that are going to be ready for next year. So that way you can continually to grow your garden bigger and bigger and bigger, and just let it compost in place more or less. So something to think about as to what your needs are now and what materials you might want to think about using. So back to the video. There's your tip for your homesteading for free on dirt or soil, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to get busy because they're looking at me like, are you going to help us today? Bye. Say bye, guys. Bye. See you on the next one, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Bye. So, real quick before it gets too dark, because the security lights done come on. Right, time to go home, right? Alright, so they're getting the last load of wood chips, so we're going to go right here to close this hole in. But you guys, we made a walkway out of all the wood chips. We laid a barrier of pine needles and leaves down that we actually got out of the trees back here, because all these pine trees and everything had put off so many pine needles. So we used that as the bottom layer on top of the cardboard, and then we put our gin trash on top. Now, I've actually got some plants coming in tomorrow. I think tomorrow. They're supposed to come in today. Hopefully they'll come in tomorrow. But this is gonna be my potato bed and my onion bed. And depending on, I may even stick my garlic out here too, because I've got my garlic started up there in a pot. I may even bring my garlic out here and go ahead and let it grow out here with the onions as well. So this is our first bed of many, and yeah, it's going to be a fun year. So there you go, guys. We'll see you next time.